has been in the United States, and because I believe that United States had the best marketing, at least from an educational perspective. So it's been years, and then I started helping all the companies in Turkey to make sure that we actually know how to do marketing, the real thing. But if you look at it, uh, basically the world has changed so tremendously. So everything is really different. Difference in ideas, difference in opinions, the difference in relationships um, between entities. Uh, so we have to really take this extremely seriously, because in this world today, and with the technologies that have emerged over the years, we have to make a difference. This is our sole purpose. Whatever business we're in, whatever entity we work with, we have to make a difference. So there's no longer certain rules that everybody uses in their work, in their job, because everybody can do everything. And this actually includes even the commercial enterprises. So whether it's production or not, or service, doesn't matter. It has to be different. Now, I don't know how you feel about the word different, but in my opinion, being different is truly being different. That can be created only by absolutely great communication. Communication is key. Communication can make it or leave it type of thing. Either you do it right or you do it wrong. There is nothing in between in communication in today's world, because it's an extremely competitive, extremely conflicted world. So we're going to talk about the importance of value proposal and how we can approach to achieve that. It's not hard, but it depends on some major criteria, starting with our knowledge of our targets, knowledge of markets, knowledge of the future. Because if we don't see the future, really whatever we say today might be lost tomorrow. This applies to all countries around the globe. So value proposal is a great way to actually open that road. Because in order to make something, to create a communication that people will hear you or see you with certain things, certain channels, then they will say, yeah, this is it. This is exactly what I needed. This is exactly how I feel. But those things don't come easily. Those things, writing content is not just writing content. Before the content starts, we need to accumulate a lot of knowledge in terms of who we are approaching to, and then start using words that in the future will become under our name, and people will get to know and recognize and accept us with that name. Now, this is not an easy task, but I'll share with you real examples, both in nonprofit and some of the big brands, because they do it really well. I think it should be a good example for all of us. So let's start. Okay, let's start. Now, a value proposition in the simplest sense is a key element. And this is absolutely part of strategic marketing. Not everybody should be taking a pen or get on the PC and say, this is the value proposal. It doesn't work like that. This is not about building a slogan. This is not about putting a certain sentence today and then change it tomorrow. And it's not about just us. It's all about the others. Let's not forget that. So a value proposition is a key element, very important part of marketing. So it does need very skilled marketing knowledge. And then find out with analysis, with research, find out what can be unique for us that will meet the expectations of other people. Especially on the nonprofit side, I want to emphasize this to you. It's all about emotions. So there is no 1 + 1 = 2 in marketing because we deal with people. Marketing is all about people and perception. And if it goes wrong, you lose it completely and it doesn't come back fast. So if you make a mistake in your communication, then you actually lose a lot of time as you go on your plans. So these unique benefits, advantages, whether it's a product or service, doesn't matter. It makes absolutely no difference in terms of communication, how we approach to our target people, target group, target markets. So let's just start with that. Value proposal is a promise. Value proposal is not just a saying, as I said, like a slogan. No. Value proposal is a promise to a target. So you would appreciate that when you to achieve that, you need to know the target. So that's the first step. We need to know who expects what from us. And then, based on our values as an entity, we cannot just lie. We cannot just make up stuff because this is what they want. That is when all this combination comes together and the entity creates a value proposal, meaning you promise something and ethically you do it because you can do it. That's very important, probably the most important thing in this communication today. So value proposal is a promise. And if we know the target, the more we know the target, the more we know the society around that target, then our promise will be equal to the values that we as an entity can actually apply it. But if we do a promise in the context of value proposal, and then every time the target market sees something completely different or not ethical or they've never needed that, then there is absolutely no use of value proposal. So I hope the entrance of the value proposal, I think it's important to start like this because my experience, at least both in North America and in Turkey, is that we sort of look at it as a light stuff, like it can be written, it can be, we can say whatever we want. No, it does not work like that. It's a promise is a promise. Either we do it or we don't do it. It's better not to have a value proposal if you cannot keep up with that value proposal. If the target market will actually believe in you, trust you. Trust is the most important word in marketing, especially when it comes to your vision, your mission, and your promise, which is your value proposal. So let's continue. I'm going to share some videos too, because I think the more we look at it, we need to really look at it from different aspects and see some examples that might even give us some inspiration. You cannot build a value proposal if you are not passionate about it. You cannot build value proposal if you have absolutely no see no if we don't see the need of it, we do not get inspired by it, it doesn't work. We build the value proposal, but we cannot pass the inspiration to the other side, which is the target, then it's gone, because that's the only way we can win basically their trust. Trust is number one choice and the most important thing. So the impact on marketing strategy, this has a huge place in it, because I'm talking about strategic marketing, because this is not a tactical thing. Tactical thing is like building videos or making reports and all the things that happen within entities, but it is not a tactic. It's a strategy, because when you promise something, there is timeline in there. You approach the entity with all these things with a very strong value proposal, then that will take you to the future. So sustainability is very important, because it cannot change every day or every month or even every year. So I'll share with you the examples of that. Now, number one is brand positioning. Now, not every entity has branded themselves, I'm sure. I mean, I hope they all do, but some people don't, or some countries or some entities, some locations might not do it. Now, it is a crucial part of brand positioning, because when they see your name, when they hear from you, when they talk to you, that's how you basically create your brand. And in that brand, there is that value proposal. And that value proposal, if it's trusted, you've done absolutely great, because it needs customer engagement. When I say customer, I'm just talking about the target market, because we're talking about nonprofit. But customer is an easy way to say it. And this engagement means when they hear what we say, they get excited. And they start coming back to you and asking you questions. It means it drives the interest of the target market. And it actually touch their heart, their brain, and basically they believe that they actually believe that it sort of compliance with the specific needs of that entity. And I'll show you a lot of examples. So this is a pretty emotionally, psychologically complicated concept, value proposals. A lot of commercial companies actually make it up in a way. But the thing, before I go on with the value proposal, I also want to point out that to be able to create a great value proposal, you have to have, at the very beginning, before you do the value proposal, you have to have a very strong vision and mission. Now, of course, all these informations in today's world would be on the website. So when they hear something, they get a message from you and they get interested in, regardless of what trade it is or regardless of what entity, they will first will look at your uh, website, open it up, and first impression is everything. So let's say if you put your value proposal or something that attaches to it on the very first page of your website, then you got it immediately to pass the perception to the other people. Messaging side, of course, this is all communication, even within the tactical side, the advertising, the promotion, the videos, and all that. It all has to complement itself. Because if we say something on a tactical manner, but on the other side, we have a really great sort of message to these people, but it's conflicting, then you lose it. So it has to be prepared in such a way in stages. This is why a lot of entities do not succeed in marketing, because they always start with the tactical side, because it's fun, because it's there, the whole world of digital. But that's not the case. This is something the company or the entity sits down and do brainstorm and say, what are we best at? Why do we exist? Because that's your mission station, mission paragraph, right? So if that mission statement contradicts your value proposal, again, you lose it. And one thing I can tell you, if you lose it, to get it back takes years. So let's just keep those in mind. Now, this is a very actually old video by Apple, but I'll tell you after you just watch it why I use this, because this is probably the best example of how you can make your value proposal over the years, year after year, the success is still there. And the love for the company is still there. Now, I'm not, I don't care about who they are, but this is what they are, one of the best in terms of how they do it. So to see those examples actually help us to change our thinking. Think different. Remember what they said when first they started? Think different. That's a difficult thing. Think different. Not a lot of people can do it. So let me share this with you. Okay, if I ask somebody here to tell us what they feel from this content here. Is there anyone that wants to sort of share with us what that could be? Anybody? Okay, so I'll continue. I guess nobody wants to sort of make at least a thought process, but this is important, dear friends. A content writing, something like value proposal, something like your mission, like your vision, or even stories about anything that you want to share with. Communication is the biggest building role, okay? This is communication, as I said before, can make it or leave it. And once you lose it, to bring it back is almost impossible. Now, on the other hand, because the world is so dynamic that the thoughts are changing, technology is changing, there are conflicts, there's everything in the world today that we want or we like or we don't like. So this is in that kind of a world. So it's even more important to be not just sensitive, but make sure that all our words and sentences gives everybody you deal with, it doesn't matter who they are, inspiration. Inspiration can make the minds change so successfully because it gives them some passion. Yes, I'm doing this. I'm touching hearts, and I'm touching ideas. I'm touching people. I'm doing something positive that will make a difference in the world. And this is even more important for nonprofits. So let's continue here. Let's start with 5 questions to ask on values. Again, you start with your own entity, because if you do not understand yourself as an entity in realistically, basically doing what you promise to do, and then starts all the other stuff. So how well can we bring our values to life? What are our values as an entity? Why do we exist? And to this existence, what are the values around it, and which targets will associate it? They will basically trust you and believe in you. And then all the leaders in these entities, do they also own all these values? Because just the marketing department or the head of marketing, can do all these things, can send it to the targets. That's not enough. The whole entity has to accept it, take it, use it, and focus on it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It takes one person to completely break it with one word. This is true both for commercial side, both for nonprofit side. It takes 1 second. And then we promote learning and development of values. Can we do that? What are we in? Is it about education? And are we open to this challenge? Meaning, if we are opening ourselves and focusing on, let's say, education on a nonprofit side, then we have to believe that we can do it. Now, if you had any difficulty doing it to this time, it means your communication was not good enough, because it's all about communication. It's all about people. It's all about a human being. There is nothing more important. I'm sure some of you know the latest stage of marketing is marketing 7.0, which means you only do things to basically make a change in the lives of people, regardless of what you do. You can manufacture steel, you can manufacture cars, doesn't matter. But when you introduce all this, they will feel that they are actually, as a human being, this will make my life a lot better. This is really the foundation of value proposal. I put this in here because I, I'm sure you know all. Let me just hold on. I'm sorry. Maya Angelou. I really love this statement, but I can't even, let me just take this on. Okay. Maya Angelou, the essence of the concept of life in terms of creating two-way communication with humanity. And she says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. The reason we emphasize communication is to make them feel better. Again, it doesn't matter what kind of entity you are. Absolutely never. Because it's all about, marketing is all about human beings. It's not about products. It's not about products. Everybody manufactures the products. Everybody. It's the people, the market, the country they're in, their needs, their targets, all these things are complicated, but it has to touch the human mind in a positive way. So three main areas that requires attention: what your customer needs and cares about. Again, the word I use customer as a general name, depending on your entity. So before, as I said before, we have to start about our target market. Target, who these people are, what do they need, do they have any problems? Which problem we can actually solve? This is the world today. We have to find solutions because there are so many problems. That's number one. And that is the responsibility of the entity. But in order to do that, you need to do some research and analysis in terms of the markets and the targets that you're appealing to. What do you stand for? And then how do you pass this on to this basically target? Maybe one target will not be suitable for you, but the other one will. Is this something that you really do well? Your second question. Okay, yes, we are, let's say, I'm just making this up, the entities. So please don't think that I'm trying to say something about a specific place because, I can't, I don't even know. But what do you really well? So you find the problems and you analyze the target to make sure that it would fit within your entity. And then the next question is, okay, this is really good and this is very important for humanity, but how do we really do it? Are we going to be good at it? Not every entity might not be able, might be able to do it. I mean, there are a lot of reasons as to how things can change. So this is the question that you have to answer within your entity and decide, okay, this will work. We can do this. Or, no, this will not work. So let's look at it from another perspective. Please don't ever forget Communication can be communication if it's always and always a two-way street. There is no communication that is one side because it's not called communication. Called communication. I had a professor at the University of Toronto, and he was in business. He was a professor of business communication, and every single class, he comes in. He doesn't even say hello and say, "Ladies and gentlemen." If you say something to somebody or your target, and you don't get the message the way you want it to. It means just come back and do it again. And then when they come back with a question, answer the question. This is how the communication starts. Two-way street. And one other thing that I experience a lot as a problem, if something says something, let's say in business, within the entity, whether profit or non-profit, everybody has ideas, and when those ideas are shared, it has to have a two-way communication. What does that mean? That means if somebody gives an opinion, and everybody has the right to have an opinion, nobody, let's say, around the table likes it, and one person says, I don't believe it. Now that's the worst thing you can do to get through all these uh, work. Now, can somebody tell me how we can actually change this around into a communication, two-way communication? Any idea? Any idea? Anybody that wants to um, basically think that this could be done this way? Now, if you truly want to get involved, and just make the communication two-way, which I would love, uh, I guess if I don't see you and I don't hear you, I don't know, but that would be great. Now, if let's say that somebody says something and everybody says no way, what do you do? Now, that opinion, whether it's good or bad, because that's very personal in a way, because our minds basically work differently. Um, the best thing to do, and please always practice this in all your activities, you ask them a question, meaning, well, your opinion is this, but do you think that if we take this approach, let's say, I'm just making this up, then the other people might actually not like this because this is not the solution that they're looking for. So what are we doing? We're throwing the ball to the other side. We're asking a question and let them think and come back. And then that person might say, all I don't know. I never thought about it. And that's the start of a great conversation. Please do not forget that. This is the only way you'll be successful in building a value proposal. It has to involve a variety of people in it because everybody that works in any entity has different ideas, has different thoughts, different education, and all that. You all know that. So the last one is what your competition really does well. Now, if we do not know if we're competing with another entity, if we do not know anything about them, then there is no way we can create a unique value proposal that only is owned by us, meaning ABC entity, and people are actually inspired by it, so they get to connect to them and you start working with them. But if we don't know the competition, who might be doing something a lot more effective. And the effectiveness, of course, all these changes are based on the words we use, the sentences we make. It's all about communication. So it's very important to get a feel of, who are we working with? Who is around us? Excuse me. So let's just keep that in mind. These three has to be stabled up within the entity before you start uh, basically writing your value proposal. Now, what your customer needs and cares about, now this is a very simple equation of a value proposal. Number one, what the target needs and cares about. Who are we approaching to and who they are? We have to understand exactly who they are, what they need, what problem they have. Plus, what you do well as an entity. Can you really find a solution? Because not everybody can do everything, right? So what do you do really well? And then analyze that. And then what your competition does well, just like those three questions that I shared. And when you actually create this with the best communicative words, your unique value proposition is done. But it has to go through these steps. That's why we call it unique value proposition, not just value proposition. You can go to AI and they'll give you a sentence and you'll put it in. But then you have to give inspiration to AI in a way, the way I look at it. Because even if it's AI, there is always a human mind. So this is probably in today's meeting here together, this is the summary of how you start working on it. This is the equation. And on a larger scale, when you look at the picture with all these umbrellas, they're all black. One of them is blue. That's exactly what your value proposition has to represent. You have to come up what everybody does. You have to come up, leave the black and come up saying I'm the blue, and my advantage and for your advantage and the value that we give you is stronger than the black umbrellas. That's the role of value proposal. Very critical, innovative thoughts and deep research. Those things have to be done. Now, there are a lot of choices, right? Every entity, every person even will have different ideas and different opinions and different experiences, but they still revolve around the customer satisfaction, meaning, because I'm talking about, the target, whether it's an entity or a person, doesn't matter. So how do you revolve around those value propositions that they will believe in you? Now, believing in you means trusting you, which is the most important thing. When you don't have trust, you have nothing, absolutely nothing. So the community engagement, the mission-driven goals, again, remember at the very beginning, I said you have to have a great mission. What you stand for, that's your mission. Nobody else can write it for you. You have to do it yourself. Why are you on earth with this responsibility? What's your mission? And of course, then the vision is a promise to take you to the future. So we actually say to the target, this is our vision of the future, and this is exactly where we're going, and this is how advantageous for you. That's a vision. So those things are easy to say, but not so easy to do. In my opinion, just as a suggestion for all of you, to create a value proposal, again, you have to take the other stuff starting. This requires a great effective brainstorm. And you have to have your existing vision and existing mission before you get into value proposal. And before you do, the research also has to be done. So that is basically how we start developing a value proposal. So basically, it's about change. Create and differentiate. If we remember these two words, actually, it will give us inspiration. And maybe it'll start us to help thinking different. For me, thinking different is the most important thing on earth. Whether it is business, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, doesn't matter. We continually follow the future. Continuously, these features will change as time goes by. But that's why we cannot, let's say we are educated, let's say years ago in a very professional area, and then that person still teaches the same things that he or she has learned. Well, that's no good anymore. That's not good anymore. I call it knowledge renewables. We have to look at the world differently almost every second. And then try to say in your thoughts, well, something has to change. So what is it we need to change? Should we concentrate on this only, or should we take various areas to take, to some sort of um, uh, basically new ideas of solutions, or even if it's not a solution, new ideas of making human beings stronger or feeling better. So it can be anything. It depends on who you are and what you do. So be the change and continuously renew your knowledge. That's the most important thing. I cannot emphasize this enough. Okay. Value proposition matrix is something that very simple actually. It basically, when you get into your value proposition, it will have to reflect differentiation from others. Because if you don't catch that differentiation, there's really no benefit you're going to see from it. Because, like a lot of people, in an easy way, they say, well, we do this to touch a human life. Well, everybody says that. But the idea is, what is that value in human touch? How do we touch them? And what happens when we touch? That's your value proposal. This is probably, if you don't remember anything from this, this is definitely something to remember. We cannot use the same words over and over again without basically losing all the inspiration, all the passion that we have for human life if we do not adopt it to our target market. And I'll share you some examples. It can be done. So let's start by creating some, non-existent or even existent entities, and see how it goes, how they do it, and just examples also give us some ideas. So we talked about the three elements of value proposition, but on this slide, the most important part is at the very end. Why should someone support us? Period. Especially in non-profit side. Why should somebody becomes a donor, or why they should support us. What reason they have in their mind that makes them trust you and get involved with you. But that's our job to create that perception. Now, one thing I want to say about perception. Perception is really, a lot of people misanalyze the word perception. Perception is never about us, never about us. I can tell you today, I'm a teacher. I am the greatest marketing teacher in the whole wide world. I can say that, right? I mean, it's freedom. But does it really have any value? How, how does it change? If I believe in myself that I'm a great marketing teacher, it means nothing. I'm just saying it to myself and I feel happy maybe. But that's not the reality. The reality is if one of the students come to you and say, I have never heard all these things that you taught me today, and it will change my life because that's the perception. That's the perception. Let's never, ever forget that. Perception is the only reality in business life. It's the only, regardless of how we, sort of say, oh, we're great and we do this and these things never, ever impact your success. It's always the perception. Who perceives you with what and how? To create that perception is the most difficult task. This is why marketing is so important when it's done properly. Okay. A nonprofit value proposition, again, it is not there's not a lot of difference between the two because it's all about human beings. A nonprofit is more closer about solving a problem, what they care about, and how this communication takes in. It is a very emotional value proposal because you are dealing directly with people. So we're going to look at the examples of the nonprofit too. Again, the concept of value proposal, especially for the nonprofits, you have to basically prove the value, the differentiation, and then you substantiate it, which means they believe that you can actually do it. They believe they can actually do it. So each component is dissected because everybody will be different. Everybody's hopes and plans are different. So there's a lot of adjustment because we want to create that perceived value that will give us the fuel to be the best. That perceived value is not about us. The perceived value is how they see us. And the job of all these marketing activities is exactly what this is. This is how big brands emerge. This is how companies, entities create differentiation. And that's a huge advantage. Huge advantage. It's not easy, but it can definitely happen. So in terms of, this is very important, at least in my mind. I'm very much focused on the word ethical, uh, and I have a nonprofit organization about it too. We set it up in Turkey, and ethical principles are various. Transparency, accountability, social responsibility, relationships. The values have been changing over the years in various geographies, and especially the generations. Now, for the first time in the world, there are 5 generations that are in the business force. That's a huge difference from anything else. That's why I keep insisting that if you had been educated on something, let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago, you graduated and you just take knowledge, you take it all the way, from here on to 10 years. It doesn't work. Not anymore, because those 5 generations, they do have differentiation, they do have different experiences, and they do have different knowledge. And that needs to combine in such a way that will create the most and strongest value proposal. Because as you've seen on the video of Apple's video, they just come down with thousands and thousands of ideas. That's what it represents, that video. That is the foundation of Apple. They're still on that motto. Thousands of ideas, as they strike with each other, that's when you get the best solution. Sometimes the ideas and the thinking can actually crash each other, or quarrel, or fight with each other in our brains. That is not a bad thing. That is definitely the best thing, to come up with something that nobody has ever heard. So that sort of striking between all these ideas, as Apple says, all these balls, thousands of balls, come down, and then at the end, when it finishes, you see 3 balls. So it's a combination of everything else. This is absolutely the most beautiful model in my professional time frame, is the best one that I've ever seen, because that is the truth. The more we get to each other, the more we combine our ideas, our brains, our experiences, the best will come out from it. As long as we do it ethical, as long as we do it, excuse me, by basically working with each other and understanding, and completely two-way street communication. Because if there is no two-way communication, you can never basically conclude all these thousands of ideas and which one will be selected. We have to have it. In some cultures, it's not easy. I know in Turkey it's not easy, but in terms of, not everybody has to be right, and not everybody has to insist, but it is a matter of listening to each other, and then questioning in our minds, and looking at the environment, uh, looking at the targets, and understanding how the world is changing. They always come together with the brilliant, brilliant uh, copies of value proposal. And if that is also extremely ethical, which means, yes, we can actually create the value proposal and really uh, reflect the ethics of it. We also have to make sure that the reality also works with it. The worst thing we can do is say things to our targets, while we do this and we do that, we touch minds, we touch heart, we help, all these things they have to be proved. How do we prove it? Basically doing our job. So if all the employees of an entity actually, they all have to own this value proposal. This value proposal does not basically part of the marketing department. They develop it with everybody else, and everybody in the entity from the very top to the very bottom. And when I'm serious when I say this, the top, let's say CEO or the general, whatever, but the down is like it could be the person who brings your cup of tea. This is how serious I am about this. Every single employee that works in an entity, not everybody, of course, I mean, there are 500 employees, you're not going to bring them together, but select from each sort of scale of employment and put them around your table and basically let them listen and give their ideas. There is nothing more effective than anything, because whoever you are, whatever you do in an entity, in a company, in a job, you are there because you are basically uh, providing something for the company, right? I mean, there's a reason for you to be there. It doesn't matter if you're a university graduate or elementary school. Doesn't matter. They have some value. I mean, let me go back. Maybe you laugh, smile about this, but let's say receptionist. I truly, truly respect receptionists. My experience have always shown, because it is not an easy job, especially in big conglomerate companies, where there are a lot of employees. Now, it might be the almost the lowest, um, let's say, rank, doesn't matter. But what they do is first impression of anybody who comes to the entity, number one. So they really have to feel like they are part of this entity. This is also very ethical. So let's look at a person that actually carries out your coffee and tea and all that. Now, that is so important, because I'm sure we all experience the fact that, in the middle of a day, you're tired, all you want is a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and somebody just emerges there. And what do? You make them happy. Now, we take these things probably very weakly. We don't really care about all these things. But if marketing has to succeed, every single employee has to be part of it and own it. This is not a competition within a company. This is bringing everybody on the same platform, so that the value proposal, when it goes out to anywhere you want to send it, or your logo or your brand, the name, everybody has to own it. It doesn't belong to a marketing person only. It doesn't belong to a salesperson only. Absolutely not. And the biggest role and the most important role on this, of course, the very top management, because they have to become an umbrella for this. If they don't do that, then nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. They have to give that inspiration to the lower levels. Otherwise, it doesn't work. We just spend time for nothing, just waste time. So ethics is very important. And also, again, this bringing everybody, involving a lot of people. You're not going to bring all the departments, just one person representing a certain job. That's what I'm talking about. And when they own it, you have no idea. I mean, nobody has ideas as to what it can go to, because I experienced this a lot for years. Sometimes, oh my God, like, how did you come up with this? And that person is a lower sort of uh, role within the company. But what he or she said was absolutely wonderful, because we're talking about human beings. We're not, we're not chemists or anything. We're not going to talk about AI or chatbot. Those are all tactics. If your strategies are not set like this, there is nothing you can do to succeed. As simple as that. Okay. Um, Here I found a nonprofit just by searching, and I want to sort of maybe I'll do it at the end of the class, but this is a really really big and very good nonprofit in the United States. It's about education, and I'll share it at the end when I finish the PowerPoint, um, because then I might lose it, and then we don't want to waste time on it. But they have their value proposal. They know exactly who they are. They know exactly what to say. Exactly what to say. So it's a great. But we'll do it at the end of the uh, slides. Now, inspiring action. This is what we're doing when we're building a value proposal. We are inspiring the other side to get into an action with us. This is the pure purpose of a value proposal. Now, in order to do that, there are a lot of things that I mentioned before, and those are a must. It's not like, oh, I mean, we know them and we know the market, so we can create it. I mean, it's up to you, but it's not going to work because I feel like every single day this world changes. The perceptions are changing. The thinking process is changing, and there is a lot of chaos where we don't. It's very difficult. Probably, at least in my lifetime, this is probably the worst time of being able to see the future, because I'm very keen on the vision side of it. I think if we don't see our where we go, then that's pretty dangerous. But it is like this, it is difficult. So the more we share with each other as a team in an entity, the better it's going to get because you're going to get strong. When you get strong, you explain all this to the other target with a lot of passion and inspiration. There is no human being in the world that will not basically love. Maybe what I wanted to say is inspiration is a very human thing. Everybody enjoys when they are inspired. They get a lot of they feel a lot of force in themselves because this is exactly what they wanted and they wanted to see. And if they have that passion, if they get the inspiration from all the other teams around them or in any educational area, then you have no idea how many different ideas will come up. And of course, it will lead to great solutions. Clear and concise is important, which means, you cannot write a value proposal as a paragraph. It doesn't work like that. Why? Because it needs to be clear, short, so people can remember. It's not something you can, basically you have a poem and you know it by heart. It doesn't work like that. It needs to be very clear and concise, mostly two sentences, even two sentences are a bit long, but the shorter it is, the most effective it is. Avoiding jargon, meaning, use phrases that everybody uses. We're touching lives. Okay, everybody says that, right? Everybody says that. And then it loses its effect. Because if everybody says that and nothing happens, and as a human being, we say, oh, the same thing over and over again. But when you create or focus to basically create that perception that we talked about, telling a story is a very effective thing. But then it's not that easy to create that. But telling a story in this digital world actually could work wonders because you can put it online, and people, the more they watch it, the more inspired they get with it. So those are the things that you might want to think about. And then at the end, there has to be an inclusive call to action. So if you open yourself up to the whole world, because on the digital, you are basically on the whole world, and you post all these things in different channels, and just leave it there, wait for them to respond. No, it doesn't work like that. We have to come up with a call to action, meaning, evaluate our story, or what is it that you liked about our story? Things like that. So get them involved. If they believe they match with you and their hopes and inspirations and plans, then you're on the right track. You're on the right track. So if you want, let's say, an entity, a nonprofit wants donations. Obviously, they need it, right? But donate now is a very harsh thing to do. And I'll show you some examples how other nonprofits use that. I mean, donate now is like a command. Why would they do that? But if your value proposal is very strong, you don't even have to do that. They will come to you. This is how you're calling. And I'll share you with the examples. In order to create an effective value proposition, again, the target, we need to understand the target, what the audience is, what their needs are, and how the nonprofit can best meet those needs. Again, these are some of them, some of these slides are repetitious, but that's the way, because um, it's not something that we can actually have different aspects to it, because there is certain foundation of how you build it. So that's why I keep receiving, I keep basically putting similar ideas on various slides. Finding your reason for being. Now, I love this saying, because um, again, this is about the entity that we're talking about. Before we even open up to build a value proposal to other targets, first we have to understand that we have to find our reason for being as an entity. Our reason, why are we here? Why do we have this entity? Why are we trying to do these things? What is this? Finding our reason for being. So this is really a translation of the statement, unique value proposal. If we do not understand who we are really, then it doesn't work. Competition is very tough. And then there are a lot of nonprofits, a lot around the world. There are participants, donors, general public, governments, everything is in there. But we can, as a nonprofit, if every organization looks around for those, and they might actually share similar goals and similar work. Like the education on the nonprofit is very common and a lot around the world. a lot. I mean, thousands and thousands. So they also share, in a way, similar goals because education is education, right? But it will change, the wording will change whatever country you're in. Because the problem or the issues with education will change with the culture and or the government governing of that country. So this has to be individualized in terms of a sector, which is education. But the good thing is you can, if you have a similar uh, wish as an entity on education, and there are thousands and thousands out there doing this, it is also a great opportunity to join with some of them. To join makes all the entities stronger and it's easier to basically expand it into the world. So keep that in mind because this is a decision that you have to make. But when you join forces with the same mission and the same value proposal, it might give a lot of other opportunities for these organizations to grow and also collaborate. Basically, we learn from each other. We learn from each entity. So for me, they're not competition. That's not competition. And today's competition is actually, the word competition is so much different than what we used to think about, in terms of competition. Competition is actually important because every new competition or competitor can bring another new establishment with a very different purpose. So it basically expands our world in a way of thinking, whether it is education or anything else. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a lot of competition. The only thing is, how do you deal with competition? How do you deal? Like in the United States, maybe a lot of you might know, they do join together in nonprofits a lot of times. As long as their vision is very complementing, because some of them might have a vision of doing this, and then the other one, again, this is all for, let's say, children. I'm just making this up, but they are looking at the children from a different perspective, then that two entity can actually work together. It would be wonderful. Because on one side, it is grown-ups, and the other side are the children. So that's why it's very strategic, because you have to think, analyze, and research and analyze and think about it as a group and see whether there is some value in it. So you can also do with competition a lot of joint things if your value proposals complement each other. Let's not forget that. Okay, this is sort of a summary that we've been talking about. The value propositions, of course, for non-profits has a lot of social impact, community engagement, and altruistic benefits. Now, mission focus basically sort of share the societal benefits. So how would change people's lives in certain sectors, or whether it's education, whether it's health, doesn't matter. So you just focus on one mission and then keep up with that. Community and social impact. This is, I don't know if all the countries in the world have this kind of thing. I don't know, but some major countries, actually, the community and social impact is very, very important. especially in smaller towns and smaller cities. That also help a lot to give a lot of value to nonprofits, and they can actually share their value proposal together if it complements. So let's say in the United States, in one state, they have this all set up, and another state all the way in the south, let's say, they're also looking at the same thing, then they can actually work together. And that's very powerful, as I said before. And supporting and engaging them is up to to us that actually set up excuse me entity. So the volunteerism, to volunteer for something, you cannot do it without any inspiration. Absolutely not. And these are feelings that we cannot feed into people. These things come out with communication, with relationships, and with each individual person's sort of vision as they go through their lifeline. So it's a very complicated atmosphere. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, so if some of you are, you can please share if you can evaluate it, like if you want to evaluate it. But the people are people. But then the way they inspire and what they inspire in will always be different. But the entity's responsibility, of course, is to smooth it down and then work together so that even if the ideas are different, they will come up while complementing each other. That's the best thing we can do in business life, in nonprofit life, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Getting together with different things is the most innovative and strong and absolutely amazing practice without absolutely no egos, lots of knowledge, and then everybody also learns from each other. Everybody learns from each other. So let's not forget that. So in the conclusion, actually, again, this is sort of a summary of it in a way. It does revolve around your target, right? But that is that we have to make them satisfied. We have to have a competitive edge, which means let me tell you something about the competitive side of it. When marketing first started after World War II, that's when it started. There was nothing really. There was just salespeople and customers. And we didn't have I mean, they didn't have the platform in terms of, um, uh, the where do you buy from, like that, like or commerce, those things didn't exist. So a lot of the time, based on the history of it, which is marketing 1.0, the salespeople and the end user were all together because the person had to educate the customer because they couldn't get any information. There was no website or anything. But now it's a completely different, it's a very completely different atmosphere. And we have to adjust to it. We have to come up to it. And not only not those things are all gone, and I know some companies at least that they still use that very sales focus, let's sell, let's sell, let's sell. Well, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. So this is very important to be able to build this value proposal and then build your strategic plans and strategic your roadmap on this. There is the impact would be absolutely immense, because there is so much in this. There is so much in this. with the competition, with the society, with the problems, the conflicts, all that can actually smoothly put your entity in a place where I am ABC and this is what I stand for. I'm not saying, but in a different way. This is what our entities stand for, and I'll show you the examples. This is the end, the solution of that value proposal. When you create that value proposal, you can say, this is what we stand for. This is what we stand for. Now, I think I had another example. So let me uh, this is one of my favorite videos of all times. Um, this is a good example, whether we're nonprofit or commercial, doesn't matter. We have to completely release the idea of sales. I'm not joking. Because in today's world, products mean nothing. Why? Because everybody does it. And everybody can copy it. Everybody sell it. From anywhere. Doesn't matter. So the point of success is what is the value you are actually adding to the world. Because if we do not open up our eyes and ears and our emotions to the whole world, it's very difficult to actually develop a very strong value proposal. This video is by Nike. Nike does what? They manufacture sports shoes, right? This video, and I hope you can hear it well, the statements or the conversation that they have is absolutely the best I've ever seen in my 40 years of professional life. So let me play this.
Listen up, babies. Life's not fair. You get no say in the world you're born into. You don't decide your name. You don't decide where you come from. You don't decide if you have a place to call home or if your whole family has to leave the country. Yeah, it's messed up. You don't decide how the world judges a person like you. You don't decide how your story begins, but you do get to decide how it ends. Yes!
Okay, I don't know if you liked it, and I would love to hear from you guys as to how they saw the message. I mean, this has nothing to do with their products, absolutely nothing. But they had actually seen this some years ago. This is where the world is going to. This is how humanity is changing, and this is how we have to change, and this is where we have to emphasize. This is a visionary concept. Not everybody can be successful being a good visionary or see the future very brightly. Not everybody can do that, but we have to be able to see at least with even like a doubt, but we need to see or create in our mind some kind of vision based on what has happened so far, and where do we positively go from here. This is exactly what they're doing. This is their value proposition, represented by their video, because they also have it in writing. But this is their own um, base um of the value proposal. This is another example of a nonprofit. I didn't put the names because it really doesn't matter. It's from US. Um, this is a nonprofit that actually focus on children, and but on specific thing for children. Now, this is important to know, because if we do not become very specific on what we do the best and what value we actually give to the other side, if you come up by saying, "Oh, we do everything," we'll protect our children. Like, even that sentence is not a good sentence, because to protect children, there are so many different things that we need to protect them from. So if you do not specify exactly one point, then you cannot build your value proposal. Now, what do they do here? Your gift will provide free warm coats to children and adults. And then value proposal. Our being is to make sure no one goes cold this winter. Now, everybody can think differently, but for me, this is like one of the best nonprofit value proposal, because it's so direct. It's so direct. There's no complication here. These people take care of children. How do they take care of? They make sure that they do not get cold in this winter. They have a beautiful, happy winter months. Nobody can argue with that. And it is so emotional for families. So for me, this is a great, especially for nonprofits, a great value proposal. And the size of it is very good. It will always stay in our minds as an example. For some reason, my screen is so big. I don't know why, but so I missed some of the copies here. Someone is selling running shoes. Okay, this is again about uh, different, sports shoes. I mean, of course, Nike is one of them. Someone is selling running shoes, might write on their website, "We can help you run 5,000 miles with no pain." Now, focus on the message itself, because that's a clear benefit to buying those shoes. Now, again, I don't know, I don't remember which brand it was. Doesn't matter, because we're not after brands. But everybody, there's so many different companies around the world that actually manufacture running shoes. And what they say as their value proposal, "We can help you run 5,000 miles with no pain." Now, in the previous one, we directly address the children as humans and what they need. Here, again, they are directing it to human beings. And it's not the look of the shoe. It's not the fact that you can run 5,000 miles. But the most important message here is with no pain. That's a great value proposal. So if you look at some of the words, again, I don't know if Imip told you, but let me just, anybody who wants to have this or re review it. It's out there, and I'm sure Imip will help us to distribute it. So don't worry about that. Solution words. When building a value proposition, now a comprehensive solution, holistic solution, end-to-end service, tailored strategy, all these things are in it. Again, it depends on the entity. It depends on the entity. So additionally, emphasizing collaboration. Remember, I talked about it a lot today. Partnership approach. It is great if you can do it. What you do might be one thing, and there's another nonprofit. Again, it's a nonprofit, but it's something. There's something. They're doing something that is actually different than what you're doing. And that collaboration actually brings the best success as long as it complements it. It complements it, then it is success very fast. So, because it can resonate with the same audiences, that's the thing. Let's say in the babies thing, the coach, they're not feeling cold. Even if there's another entity that actually talks about babies, about being, let's say, hungry, it can definitely cooperate with you if you are the one who are producing the codes. So yes, the children had to be warned. They also had to be fed. So I hope it makes sense in what I'm saying. That integration, especially if it happens between countries, is absolute success, in my opinion. Nike's value proposition is innovate and inspire and all that. But again, remember on what is done at the very beginning is actually, in my opinion, the best value proposal. Just do it. Now, just do it. If you remember the video, and hopefully you could have heard it well, it is about just do it. It's about just do it. Now, they did that maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, but the video is like almost a year ago. But it's the same idea. We have to be very consistent with our mission. If we say this is what we stand for, we have to keep going, standing on. We cannot keep add and change. It doesn't work like that. It can be complemented, but not change. So Nike is still continuing with the same success they always had. Just do it. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, because it's not under your control. So take things in your control with the sports and do it. This is, from a marketing perspective, in my opinion, it's one of the best. Now, this is one of my favorite companies, GE. I respect them a lot, and it's like, I don't know, 120 years old or whatever. But what is really interesting with this is that they are continuously changing everything in terms of communication. So if they did, if you watch, I strongly suggest you actually take a look at GE website. If maybe 5 years ago they put the opening statements. Now I want to, before I forget, let me tell you this. Now I don't know how many entities have websites. Website, never ever forget, is your first window that opens you up to the world. I mean, if you don't remember anything from this today's conversation, please remember that. It is your If somebody wants to learn you for the first time, they will go to your website. And that first page is your ultimate strength. And this is where a lot of companies make the biggest mistake. You should never, ever boast yourself on your first page. Your first page should be almost close to your value proposal because it creates a first impression. And if they like it, they keep looking at your website. That first impression, and if you don't get that first impression, like a lot of entities that say, oh, we're so and for, we have this great product, and, all these things, very technical, very product focused, the opening, you lose it immediately because you know why? Somebody comes to learn about you, does not expect or doesn't do it just because they want to learn our value proposal. Every single person wants to see how that company can help them. So if it's in commerce, right? If it's let's say in manufacturing or whatever, education, it doesn't matter. Whatever you do, the first thing these people for the first time look at your website, if you don't have any very effective message on your opening slide, then they go immediately to prices. Immediately, 100% every time do that. And you lose it right there and then because then you go into price competition and you become a commodity, period. The worst thing for a nonprofit is to become a commodity. Commodity means, a lot of other people do what you do, but the only difference between them is about, let's say, pricing. And that is basically lack of success, period. And it is an end, it's basically an end street, like you just go there and then it ends. Because this is being a commodity means you will always evaluate you on basically financial terms. So this also implies for donors. But in this world of nonprofit, that should never be like that. It shouldn't be on even the commerce side. But that first opening statement is the most important thing. I wanna share something to make sure that this, why I'm so insistent on that. When I was educating,
Gail, sorry
yeah.
for interrupting, but just to remind, we have 15 minutes left.
Oh, okay. So like for
Yes.
the whole session, right?
Yeah, for the whole session.
Oh, okay.
Closing.
So, okay, that's fine. So let's go on.
Okay.
So anyway, don't forget
Okay.
about that opening statement because it is first impression. There is no second impression in the world, in humanity. So let's just keep that in mind. Core focus areas in the GE that I said I really very much respect them. But if you look at their value proposals, just to give you an example, let's say, of course, they have different sectors, right? Aviation, power, renewable energy, and all that. But if you look at the red sentences, these are all value proposals. So even if it's healthcare, and they don't talk about the medical imaging and diagnosis, this is what they do. But the value proposal is aiming to create a world where healthcare has no limits. This is a value proposal. This is a value proposal. Renewable energy, a sustainable power system. So what it does, it basically defines the sector that they're in and then ends up attaching a value statement in there. Power, GE power, power generation and all that, And what do they focus on? Reliability and efficiency. Now, that's very important for the power sector, right? Electricity and all that jazz. The aviation side, fuel efficiency and reduce emissions. Again, this is about the environment. So when you look at it, if you know your company and if you have a great plan in your hands, then there is nothing that can be difficult for you to create a great value proposal. Amazon actually very Amazon's value proposal is a little bit crooked in a way because it's all about technology. But the thing is, their value proposition is go to destinations. So basically they can go anywhere. They can sell anywhere, right? For millions of shoppers around the world. So they see this as a value proposal, which it is, of course, because if they like e-commerce, then it's the easiest way to do it. So I just wanted to share it with you. So before we end, first of all, thank you so much for listening. Any questions, any comments, anything you want to share with us before we close our presentation? Anybody has any questions?
Actually, it was very useful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I hope it was useful. Again, I'm looking at the questions. I didn't see any here, but if there is, please, yeah.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can also write it to the chat. Actually, I have a question, Gail. At the beginning, you mentioned that we need to identify our values at the beginning, and it's not the business of the marketing department. It should be owned by the managers at the top, and also from top to the bottom, actually, for the all or her whole organization. But as a non-profit organization, let's say our business is very legally framed, and what are the values that we actually what would be the trigger, or what would be the initiative to start identifying the values in the organization? Like, what would be the first step for me to create a value or value proposal for my organization? Is there any methodology or any tools that can help me to start with?
Thank you. Well, first of all, this is not, yes, it's a marketing activity, but it is not just by marketing. Absolutely. Marketing, unfortunately, we don't do that in Turkey, but marketing in every successful, at least in North America, every successful companies, it's an umbrella over the company. This is why they do it. We don't. Because that umbrella gets into basically approved by the top leaders, and then goes and touches every single department in a company. This is how marketing works. Now, I don't know all the countries, but in the US, this is exactly what I learned, what I did, and all that. But in Turkey, unfortunately, we don't do that. Because we all, we use the tactical side a lot. But you are absolutely right. All these things, like this value proposal, has to be a group job. And from the very top to the very bottom. This is all, even if it is a conflicted conversation, it has to take place and then come up with a value proposal. And it doesn't matter who you are and which department you represent. Everybody, at least one person from each division has to be in it. There is no question about that. And of course, the top leaders also have to be in there and accept it and own it and even teach it to others, because there is nothing a company can do if it's not like done like that, because we're reaching the outside, the reaching target, and that reaching target, that target deals with almost every person in a company, whether it's your purchasing, whether it's your RG, but you know, whether another division, everybody finance, you know, everybody deals with outsiders. So these values have to be accepted and owned by every single department. And that is, yeah, I'm a bit, you know, unfortunately, it's not as good as that. But we have to do that. We have to do that.
Yes,
Value proposal is
my
a
other
pure
question is like connected to this one. Do you believe that, or do you think that people can do this by themselves, or organizations can do this by themselves, or they need a facilitator, or I don't know, an instructor, anyone who can help them to identify their values and to structure it and identify some steps them to follow?
Right, I see. Okay. No, good question. Actually, you're right. Yes, there should be a representative from every department. That's important. Uh, however, for everybody to own it, so there has to be a group representing different areas of the company, because you're going to find what you stand for, right? I mean, that's not something a marketing person say, well, this is what we stand for. It doesn't work like that, because it has to be owned by everybody. So maybe even, let's say there are 15 departments, and each one, you know, in those, maybe one person comes in. So let's say 15 people sit down and basically brainstorm this. This is how you do it. Or it could be 10 people. But my suggestion is it has to include, it doesn't need to be just by the top management. It shouldn't be, because their job is a lot more complicated. But when you are, let's say, in an RNG, you know, the RG side of it, then you have a specific area there. You have a specific responsibility. Sales is like that. So all these things have to be, you know, represented, so the ideas can actually fight with each other, and fight not in an you know, it like in a very normal way. I'm saying, because sometimes those striking is very, very powerful. Can it happen? Of course it can happen, but it might take some time. But definitely, it is not just a one content writer in a company sit down and write a value proposal. Absolutely no. Absolutely no. It doesn't help. It just doesn't help at all. Any
Okay,
other
thank you.
questions or comments? I mean, you can say, you know, things that you you didn't understand or you didn't believe. I mean, I'm open to everything. Okay, I guess there's no other questions, right?
Yes, there is no question in chat.
Okay. Well, thank you, IMIP, and thank you everybody that attended. This is a very important concept and subject, and I love it. I'm very passionate about it. So if you, again, if, you know, if you want to review the video, you can do it. I have my email. If you have questions, please be free to ask. You know, I might be able to give you different opinions. I'm always open to it with everybody when I do these things. So thank you. Nice to meet you. I wish I could see everybody face to face, but this is the new world. So okay, that's all from me.
Yeah, thank you very much for your valuable information, and
Thank you.
it's a really fruitful workshop for us. And for the participants, I would like to thank you for your time allocation, and I hope to see you for the next webinars in the next month. We will
Thank
keep you updated about our project events. And thank you.